It is generally assumed that the headquarters for Operation Overlord was at Southwick Park, north of Portsdown Hill, Portsmouth. But as can be seen from this World War II film from D-Day, this involved mainly British and Commonwealth staff officers. Yet the Second Front also involved the United States Army, so where were they based? The springboard for D-Day was launched not from Portsmouth but Southampton, because as Admiral Ramsay, commander of Operation Neptune, stated in his report, close and continuous control was needed, and there is a plaque at the Blymont Barracks in Millbrook, Southampton, which states that these were the quarters for the men who during World War II were involved in moving the vast armies of the US through the port to engage in military operation on the continent. A similar plaque may be found located close to where the officers were quartered, in the now demolished Polygon Hotel. According to this plaque, the officers of the 14th Port were responsible for the planning and directing of the United States Expeditionary Forces of over 2 million men at Southampton. Prior to World War II, the Polygon Hotel was the centre of the town's social life. Countless dinner dances were held in the hotel's ballrooms. Its bars were ideal for a drink before a night at the Gaumont, now the Mayflower Theatre, just around the corner in Commercial Road, while the Polygon Hotel was a firm favourite with passengers from the great ocean liners that sailed in and out of the docks. So what made the Polygon Hotel so popular with American officers? On the other side of the road from the Gaumont is Southampton Town Hall, called the Civic Centre, where there is another plaque hidden in plain sight yet still visible today. According to this plaque, the Civic Centre was used as the headquarters of the port, and it was from officers established here that orders emanated directing the movement of the vast American armies through Southampton and other south coast ports between the 6th of June and the end of hostilities in the Great War for the liberation of Europe. The reasons that made the Polygon Hotel a firm favourite with passengers from the great ocean liners also made Southampton the ideal springboard for D-Day, and the 14th Port controlled all ports on the south coast of England from Southampton to Land's End, with its main sub-ports at Poole, Plymouth and Portland Weymouth. Typical of the officers billeted at the Polygon was John O'Donnell. Initially he was sent for induction into the army at Fort Bragg and was assigned to the Quartermaster School at Camp Lee, Virginia. After completing his training, he was appointed second lieutenant and assigned to the Quartermaster section of the 14th Port of Embarkation at Camp Hathaway in Vancouver, Washington. On July 8, 1943, the 14th Port travelled to the European theatre, arriving in England on July 15, 1943. O'Donnell was soon promoted to first lieutenant, and there followed an indication of what was to come when he was assigned to a refresher school for officers entitled Outloading School, conducted at Southampton. He was assigned to the 14th Port of Embarkation at Southampton. During his stay, like most GIs, he took the opportunity for some sightseeing in London, and he enjoyed a Sunday dinner at the Army Officers' Mess in the Grosvenor Hotel before moving down Park Lane and onto Oxford Street and London Bridge. O'Donnell supervised the receipt, storage and issue of general supplies within the army units at Southampton and remained stationed at the Southampton Port of Embarkation throughout 1945 with an office in the Civic Centre. In recognition for his service as Chief of Movements for the US Army Transportation Corps at this time in the Southampton area and his involvement in the cross-channel landings in France, Colonel Mayo of the US Army Transportation Corps was awarded the OBE. Similarly, Colonel Kaiser, also of the US Army Transportation, was awarded the Commander of the British Empire, the CBE, not the OBE as previously stated. According to his citation, during the build-up of forces using the port of Southampton, when the troops of both nations often used the same marshalling and transit camps, the greatest coordination was necessary. Yet both during the build-up and since, the liaison and cooperation between the British and American forces in the Southampton area was excellent. To a very large extent, this was due to the personal efforts of Colonel Kaiser, who was always most anxious to cooperate, and his relations with the Royal Navy, police, local authorities, Southern Railway and Harbour Board were equally cordial and helpful. Without the US, there could be no second front, and throughout this period the port facilities were shared by the Americans and the British on a day-to-day allocation made in accordance with the tactical needs. In recognition of the unit's outstanding achievement, perpetuated today by the 374th Transportation Command, the unit was granted the privilege of marching through the streets of the town of Southampton with bayonets fixed, drums beating, and colours flying.